Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business Lunatics, where we talk about all things business. And we are coming in with 160 years of knowledge and experience for all aspects of the business sector. Me and my team over here are talking about no fluff, no BS, just straight up business madness. And today's topic is going to be, what if you take on the wrong customer? That's our show for today. And I'll let Steve start it off.
Well, let's go to the startups. I mean, how often, as a startup business, you take the wrong customer because you need the money, you need the revenue. You got to try to, or maybe your brand spanking new. You're just trying to build it. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is they end up sucking you dry, and your employees are unhappy. You're unhappy. They typically require the most handholding, or having the wrong clients. And then, you're like, well, but I need the revenue. But the reality is you'll make a lot more money saying no to more people than you will saying yes to all of the people. That's for sure. Because there, you do. It's one step closer to a yes. But we've done it. I've done it. But you're the first one to
I
admit
think
it.
we've all done it in some
Yeah.
form or another. In the
Yeah.
last
And
40
it's
years, I
never
know it's
worked
come
out.
up in my way.
Yeah, it's never worked out yet. I don't think it's going to change.
No, before the show, I was mentioning that, wrong customers come in two forms. One is the one that you pursue and you shouldn't close after you've learned more about them. And the other one, which is unfortunate, is when you get a client that's referred to you from a business partner, an
Another
associate,
client.
even right, or another client. And now all of a sudden you're in a position where you have no choice. You have to say yes, and you spend more time trying to figure out, how do I get out of this
I
eventually,
know.
than trying to keep it
Yeah.
going. Kind of a crazy, crazy story. Go ahead, Freddie.
But one of the things that you want to piggyback on that is because I had that happen to me last year, is I had a business coach that I worked with in a previous company. And when I left that company, he hooked me up with somebody else that he knew that could use the work that I could do. So that was one that you're just talking about, was a referral. And so I was excited
Yeah.
about the opportunity, and we met and everything seemed wonderful. And this guy was keen on really changing and transforming his business. And I was fired up. I says, all right, I'm gonna get to, really blow this company up, and rolled up the sleeves, went in 110% into it. And the guy was like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I mean, it was crazy. He wanted to do stuff. And then he was all excited about all the things we were putting in, CRM, getting things organized, systematized, and improving marketing, and a multitude of things. But then the back end, he was sabotaging things, and ended up within about a 6 to 7 week period. And I was operating as a fractional guy in there, as a fractional CRO, CMO. And I basically said, this isn't working out. And then more importantly, he was trying to change the contract to me becoming a subcontractor to him, which means I'd be reporting to him versus being a consultant coming in to help grow the business. So absolutely
Right.
correct. You sometimes get
I
these
guess
guys
that
that
I
are,
guess the question is, did you get paid?
I did get paid.
All
I
right.
did get paid.
That's a good question.
That I did get paid. I made sure of that, but still.
I just,
Yep. Yeah.
well, hi guys. I just think we really need particular qualifying questions. And if they pass what we would think is our litmus test, go full ahead. And if they don't, I mean, I've recently told somebody that I think, I really appreciate us chatting and getting to know your business. But I just don't think that we are a good energetic fit. And I just think that you would do better working with somebody else. And that was fine. Now, by telling somebody that I don't think we're a great energetic fit, it's not as insulting for some reason. They just say, okay, and we go our separate ways. So I found that very helpful. The other thing that I found very helpful is a client who shows you who they are and believe them. They don't get on the phone and say, Rochelle, let me introduce myself. I'm a psycho. I'm going to make your life miserable.
Right.
I'm a
I,
lunatic.
I wish they would.
I'm going to do everything in my power to torture you. When it comes to getting paid, you're going to have to do the Lord's Prayer and have security meet me at the door. They don't do that, but they have other very subtle ways of telling you that they're really like a psycho. And we have
Right.
to pay
Yeah.
attention. We can't say, oh, it's one off, it's no big deal. One off is too many offs, and we have to protect our peace and protect our profit. And when I think of those two things, will this protect my peace and will this protect my profit? Move forward. If there's any twang in any one of those two areas, I'm really I'm just thinking, I just don't think we're an energetic fit, and I move on. They're not I'm not in business at this stage to voluntarily bring in somebody that's going to torture me. Those days are over. I'd rather
Yeah.
have less revenue and focus on my marketing opportunities and my relationship building opportunities versus trying to appease somebody that is so difficult that no matter what you do, you will never be able to satisfy this person.
And
It's
there's some telltale signs, like, they're argumentative. It's my way or the highway. They are rude. Great example. I had a client that literally yelled at one of my employees, and my employee came back to the office almost in tears. And I literally went out there and I drove 45 minutes to this client's office, and I opened the door, broke up a meeting, and I flat out told him, if you ever talk to any of my employees like that again, I personally would do things I can't mention. And we ended up being friends, and it kind of worked out. But there usually are he got the message. I wasn't going to stand for it, but I had to stand up for him. But more importantly, when you do have a really bad client that's sucking you dry, they're sucking all your employees dry. They're sucking the life out of
Yeah.
the whole company. And I can't tell you how happy my employees have been by when I fired somebody. They're like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much for firing that person. They were the worst. And you didn't
You
know
know,
as an owner, you don't
yeah.
really see it. You're not on the front lines.
Well, and the other thing is, it's been mentioned a few times already. When we talk about profits and we're talking about revenues, these types of customers, unfortunately, are not worth the revenue you're getting.
Right.
Like you said, Steve, they're draining, or Rochelle, you also mentioned it. They're draining your peace, right? They're draining your resources, and and generally they tend to ask for more than they're paying for to begin with, and that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother
It's a whole
conversation. But
nother animal
Yeah.
right there.
but I want to carry on what you just said there, Maylee, because
Yeah.
it's also draining you financially because you're not able to focus on other opportunities,
Happy
be,
paying customers.
happy paying customers or new customers, et cetera, because now you got to focus your attention back to deal with this high demand, ungrateful individual. And that is really a time sucker that you can't buy back.
Yeah,
All right.
another quick telltale sign is for a coach anyway, if they don't do their homework. If you give them, you're trying to help them grow their company, trying to help them scale. Say, okay, Grant, I need you to fill out, a vision summary. I need you to come up with your core values, spend time and think about it. Use chat. I don't care how you get it, but you need to come up with, what are your true values that you would hire, fire, take a financial hit over. And then a week goes by, another week goes by. I literally have fired a coaching client who was paying me thousands of dollars a month because they weren't doing the work.
yeah.
And it's like, you're just wasting my time and yours. And I made him pay out the contract. Too bad. But
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. I felt horrible having to do it. But sometimes, that's what they need.
Yep.
Someone
And
stand up
if
to them.
you think about, like, in our business as a marketing agency, the one thing you always want, and I don't know, maybe all businesses want it, but definitely in the marketing world, as an agency owner, your prospects and your clients are looking for case studies. They're saying, well, what did you do, right? How did this work out for you? And you're constantly trying to say, you know what, we have happy clients. Well, this one bad apple is not one that you want to necessarily get out there, right? You want people to know that you're involved with this project, and that project tends to usually not go anywhere. I don't want to say it fails, but it doesn't move the needle. You're spinning your wheels, you're running in place, and you're not getting anywhere. And so these types of customers, cause that type of friction as well. You're like, you were just saying, you're trying to help them, and it's not going anywhere. It's crazy.
Right.
I
Right.
find that they get surprised when you stand up to them. I
Mhm.
think a lot of times these clients are bullies,
Yeah.
and just they are just so used to everybody caving. But when all of a sudden you create a strong boundary and kind of bark back, oh my gosh, like what the heck is that? And they really get humbled. I mean, I had that happen, and I looked at somebody and I said, under no circumstance, I want you to be clear on this. Under no circumstance are you giving me an ulcer. Period. End of story.
Right.
Under no circumstance. This is not up for debate. And when
Yeah.
I said that, the guy like, okay. I said, this isn't happening. I am not on a call with you, and sitting next to me is an entire thing of Pepto Bismol. It is not happening. Not happening. You might think this is a strawberry shake, but I am not sitting here with an entire thing of Pepto Bismol because you cannot, navigate your emotions. You can't move up. No, it's not happening. And then when I keep saying under no circumstance are you giving me an ulcer, they get it.
Oh
And they
yeah.
kind of have
So
to,
we're saying no to Pepto Bismol.
Yeah.
yeah,
No to Pepto Bismol too. Nothing against them as a company, but
Right.
don't want to live like that.
Yeah.
not
We don't
happening.
want ulcers.
I
Not
want to bring
happening.
back one thing that Bailey, you had brought up was, what happens when it was referred to you by somebody. So in
Right.
the case where I had mentioned the story of that business coach, working with him and then referring me to this particular nightmare customer, what I did is I informed that individual what was going on. So I kept them up to speed as to what was going on with that customer. And they were
Right.
kind of surprised. But then at the same time, it came out at that point when I was sharing that, oh, yeah, they have a tendency to do that, and it's like, no, find time to tell me now.
Well,
But
you also save a referral source. You don't burn a bridge
right,
because they don't
Right.
understand that it's not your fault. They are just who they are. And like you said, a lot of times they know they are who they are. They refer them to you. So
right.
they must know.
Right.
But
Well, and on the one hand, you could argue, hey, they're being referred to you because your client trusts you, right? And they're saying, hey, listen, we got to bet, this person is not doing well. Can you help them? And one of the things that I have learned to do is I will give this, whether it's a small business that really can't afford us working with them, or whether it's just a bad apple, I try to work with the idea that this is a 90-day program. And we approach it with, we're going to try to help them. And here are our guidelines. These are our boundaries, so to speak. And this is what we're going to do for the next 90, maybe 120 days. But I want to put a limit on how far we're going to go with this, because we don't want the Pepto-Bismol, we don't want the ulcers, we don't want them sucking us dry on our piece. We want to be able to figure out, how do we meet the requirements of the trust of your client that referred them to you, and more importantly, how do you keep your sanity, right? And so the way that I've approached it is, we're helping, we're not trying to make money off this, and we're going to give it a certain limit. Now that works well in the case of referrals for the situation that we're talking about. The ones, the scenarios that we were talking about previously are not referrals. These are clients that, we decided to take on, and it was a wrong decision.
Sure.
Clear, you've got to be clear. Who do you do your best work with? When somebody says everybody's a great opportunity, I mean, I cringe. That means you just told me nobody is. We want to get clear as who do we gel with best? Where can we make the
Yeah.
biggest impact and with who? And I always say, where do we have the best energetic fit that we can move the needle for them? And then it's such a win-win situation for both. And if it's not, why bother? Like you say, like why bother?
We
Right.
do an exercise called the Mission to Mars. And the Mission to Mars is all about who would you, if you had to go build a whole new colony on Mars, who are 5 people you'd like to take with you? And typically, sometimes it might be, you might say Elon Musk, or, if you're an Elon Musk, or you might say, Albert Einstein, whatever. But a lot of times it's like a key employee or a key client that they're very happy with or they really respect is what I see them put on their list. But if you think about, if you're going to create a whole new civilization on the planet of Mars, who really would you bring? And those are the people that I'd like to work with, and I'd like to hang out with, and I'd like to be my clients and service and support them. Absolutely. And there's other considerations, like you probably want to have a male and a female at least, so you can reproduce. But it's something that people I don't think give enough credence to, that how valuable is that dollar you're making? Is it worth the aggravation to deal with someone that you really don't like or respect, or that nobody wants to do the work for? Nobody wants to answer the phone when they call. They're like, who's calling? Oh no, we're not in. You don't want that going on. That's not good for anybody. You want everybody to be people that you love working with, you love hanging out with, and you would maybe, go to a barbecue with. Those are the type of people I like to be my clients. And
Yeah.
honestly, they all have to be that way. They don't, but that's what I strive for.
Sure.
So, Loonies, let me bring something up as we go into maybe the last 15, 20 minutes of this show. Perhaps what we need to do is also talk about how do we avoid these situations? What is it? How do we shift to identifying ideal clients? And Rochelle brought up a good point early on, which was perhaps one of the solutions is qualifying questions, right, Rochelle?
Mhm.
Here's the one when you have a money issue, you want to get that, you want to, at least I do, I want to get that out of the way very quickly. So if somebody is resisting a deposit, end of story. End of
Yep.
story. We are known, we may love to be, um, we may love to contribute to a charity, but we're not here to become one. So now,
I like that.
being for
You're too funny to have laryngitis. I'm sorry.
now, if they're really giving you a hard time with money, now you may want to work with them on how they can pay you, let's say the deposit. But if they're saying that I'll only pay you after whatever it is, they're not agreeing to your financial terms. Hasta la vista. That's a big one.
Oh
So
yeah, get paid up front or early. That's in my agreement. They sign an agreement, they guarantee that A, they'll do the work, B, they will cooperate, C, they're willing to remove themselves as CEO of the company if that's the best move for the organization, and D, they will pay on time or early every month.
now the next thing is
That's
that's
time to chase money.
you want to look at wherever you had problems in the past, and wherever that was, that becomes now a future qualifying question. So, for
Oh, good.
example, I know some people, I have a client that doesn't answer the phone. It could be, I mean, Lord Jesus can be on the phone, he won't pick up, it doesn't matter. So, you've got to ask, what is the best way to communicate? Because I'm not chasing you. Now, history, if I want to chase, I'll go on a dating app. I am not chasing you. Okay, not happening. So, what is the best way to communicate? Is it through email? Is it through phone? Is it through text? Is it through smoke signals? How do I communicate? And if you're not available, who is the second in command that they can chase you? Because it's not going to be me, because I find that there's a lot of communication issues. So you want to know, who is in place that can communicate on their behalf, so that communication doesn't become a roadblock. So those are two biggies that I've put in place because I've had struggle with that in the past.
Yeah,
And
let me
yeah, go ahead.
emphasize on what
Mhm.
Rochelle is talking about because I used to have a customer. He was actually a good customer, but he was a doctor. He was a well-renowned doctor. You probably know him, Maylee, know his name, but I'm not going to mention it right now. But
Can't get them.
he had his own unique communication. So if you sent him a text message, nothing. If you sent him a voicemail, nothing. If you emailed him, he'd be on the tarmac of about to take off to go to some other country to speak on stuff. And he, boom, you get an instant response. So that's one of the things that I've always learned, years ago in sales, and I still use today, and even when I have people set up their online forms and stuff, I always recommend them to add, preferred communication method. So you know right up front, and then I make sure that the teams, all right, this person prefers text message, this one prefers a phone call, this one prefers email. So if you respond to them by their preferred method, you're highly likely to connect with them like that.
I have
But
to tell you a funny
Fred,
story.
yeah,
This was one. Somebody went dark on me for a long time. And I was just like, what is this? I actually sent him a FedEx with a condolence card in there. And I said, does this need to be sent to a member of your family? Because I have not heard from you for dot, 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 dot. Is there? Of course, I got an immediate phone call. But I'm
Right.
not sending FedEx and condolence calls all the time.
No,
You
sure,
got to
right,
meet them
right,
the
right.
way where they want to be met and how they want to be
But
communicated with.
Freddie and Rochelle, in both cases, what you guys are talking about when we talk about communications, we're also talking about setting expectations.
right.
Mm.
Yep.
And I think these are the type of clients where we need to identify the boundaries, regardless of what those boundaries might be. And we need to set the expectations. This is how we're going to work, number one. This is the format in which we're going to communicate. And, in a lot of cases, these are the results we're going to get or expected results for this type of work. And so I think if we follow those three items, it can help, but going to what Rochelle said earlier on the show, some of these people are bullies. You could set expectations all day long, you could
And
set
you
boundaries
need
all day long.
a
It
good
won't make a
stick 'em.
difference.
Sure, that was that one company that I mentioned before that I talked earlier.
Yeah.
That guy was a bully, 100%.
Yeah.
And because the way he handled his contractors, he was belittling these people for little
Oh,
mistakes.
my guy, the same thing. The same thing. But
Mhm.
once I told him the way it was going to be, stand up to him. Like, either
That's what I'm going
stand
to
up
tell
or
you.
fire him.
Yep.
See, very often when we go into an account, a lot of these people that you're dealing with have egos that God knows what. So they
Yeah.
think they're the king and anybody else is the peon. We have to go in and say that we are shoulder to shoulder. Now, when you
Mhm.
declare your position as shoulder to shoulder early on, it takes a lot of that away.
Yeah,
Yep.
we just have to, I think, part of this scenario is we need to figure out how, um, how do we protect ourselves, identify the right clients, and shift to the ideal clients, right? And in identifying how we our thinking process, for lack of better words, in terms of why did we take on this bad client, we need to back out of that. right? And say, okay, well, I need to avoid this. And so the general idea is let's work on finding the right clients. And something Rochelle said earlier, if you can just get yourself to say no, which
Yeah,
tends to be a hard thing for a lot of people. You have to be able to get yourself to say no, and and assuming that you're not taking on the bad client, and that tends to open the doors for in terms of time. Well, then use that time for business development, use that time for networking, use that time to market yourself, and in doing so you're gonna be in a much better position to find the right clients.
it's just
You're
like
better off down that road.
it's
Yep,
just like
absolutely.
hiring the right employees. Get the right
Yeah.
people in the right seats, doing the right things, holding themselves accountable. The same thing. Yeah, and you wouldn't just hire somebody without getting a job description, doing a job scorecard, doing a talent assessment, making sure they're the right fit, maybe do them on a trial period to see culturally if they fit with the rest of your team, right? So you wouldn't do that. So why would you take a client on and not put them through the same type of testing, like, give them 90 days. Hey, it's a trial. You're gonna see if you like me, I'm gonna see if I like you. Like you said, man, like, I think
Yeah.
that's really important that you treat it the same way as you would hiring somebody that you're gonna have work for you.
Yeah, you know what I think you make a great point. Granted, in the client situation, you're getting paid, in the employee situation, you're paying the employee, but the concept is still the same. Is you do a 90-day trial, you do a 90-day onboarding, whatever you want to call it, and work, try to identify if this is a good fit. And it may not be, and if that's the case, work your way out of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because you
You
created
know,
yourself an out at that point.
Help them find the right
right,
the right
exactly.
vendor. Help them find the
Yep,
right vendor that'll make them happy. They'll
yep,
thank you for it.
Guys, let's sort of
yep,
wrap
definitely.
up. What is our takeaway from today? Freddie, why don't
Well,
you start?
actually, Rochelle, before we get to that, I'm going to tell you this takeaways because I took some notes of your funny comments today. You're gonna
She
like
was on
this.
fire today.
I know. I couldn't get enough of it. So first of all, we're going to protect peace and profit. I thought that was great. That's a
Yep.
nice one-liner there. Number two, um, no to Pepto-Bismol. Number three, yeah, I don't want to contribute to. I'm willing to contribute to charity, but not be one. I thought all three of these were great, Rochelle.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are good.
Those are all great one-liners.
Definitely. And on that note, Freddie, why don't you take it in terms of your takeaway?
My takeaway was really is looking at evaluating, and I like the 90-day idea of really test roading the relationship with the new customer and building a way out, an off ramp, so that if it's not working out, and you'll know within 30 to 45 days, you'll have an idea of whether this is working or not working. And then you have your off ramp.
Cool. Steve?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's imperative that you don't just take business just to take it. It'll cost you more in the long run. So my biggest takeaway is find your tribe, find people you want to work with, find people that energize you, that lift you up, that make you happy to bust your rear end for them. That's the clients you want.
Rochelle?
I want us to believe in your company, believe in your greatness. Because if you know that you do great work, we don't have to continue on with these C or F clients. We know that right behind them is a great client that we can do great work with. So
Mhm.
believe in what you do and believe in who you do it for.
Amen.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go with saying no isn't rejection, it's protection.
Well, there you
And
go.
to stay on a positive note about this crazy lunatic lunacy that we run into in terms of wrong clients, I'm going to say that our focus has to be the right clients don't drain you, they elevate you.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's what we need to stay focused on. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. Please stay tuned for our next show, and we'll become more and hopefully not become lunatics in the process. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, and wishing everybody a good day.
Right.
Thank
See ya.
you. See y'all.
Okay.